silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace.
Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed, according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings, and sacrifice, and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness and profanation, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. Welcome. This is Jesus Christ Part 3. Judas Maccabees, the warrior Messiah. Now last time we left off with Antiochus Epiphanes, and if you've never heard of him, you should probably do as much research as you can on him, because they have taken a lot of information on him down. And I understand. Like a forked tongue, he blessed them and cursed them with his axe. So let me give you a brief summary on who he is. Antiochus was the 8th king of the Seleucid Empire or dynasty, a descendant of Seleucus Nicator, who was one of the 4 notable ones that came up after the death of Alexander the Great. Antiochus, being the descendant of one of the 4, is the little horn that came forth. He is the heart of what is known as the Abomination of desolation. So we should know who he is. Well, with all that said, there was one family that wasn't having it at all, And one man was appointed or anointed to lead his brethren and others and to fulfill his Father's will. Judas Maccabees. Ironically, they just released a new biopic called Judas and the Black Messiah, but that's another topic. So let's talk about the real Black Messiah, Judas Maccabees. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. I can't make this up. I mean, it's almost insulting reading it. Now this is Jesus on the Mount of Olives, preaching to his disciples about his second coming and the signs to look for. And just like in part 1, when the alleged patrilineal line of Joseph, which led back to Adam, indicating that Adam was the son of God, which is to implant the reasoning or the argument for the son of God usage for Jesus. Even though we also read in part 1 that Mary was already pregnant by the Holy Ghost with Jesus before her and Joseph came together, which is before they had sex. Now they used the same trick again in 24:15, as it says, the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet. Then right below that in parentheses it says, whoso readeth, let him understand. And like they say today, if you know, you know. Well, if you readeth, then you understand that the abomination of desolation happened years before Jesus allegedly walked the earth. As a matter of fact, all these events happened before Jesus, which is why we were briefed about Judas and Antiochus, the abomination of desolation. Now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the book of the law, which they found, they burnt them with fire. And wheresoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month. to as many as were found in the cities. Now the 5th and 20th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God. These are the days of the abomination of desolation that Jesus supposedly prophesied of. All right, now, 1 Maccabees chapter 2, verse 1 through 8. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joarib from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Johanan, called Cadiz or Gotti, pretty much John Gotti, Simon called Thasi, Judas, who was called Maccabees, Eleazar called Abiram, and Jonathan, whose surname was Aphas. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people, I being Mattathias, the father of Judas, and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers. Her temple is become as a man without glory. Now, if you've seen part 2, or if you've read the book before, you know what's said next. So let's jump down to verse 17. Right? Then answered the king's officers and said to Mattathias on this wise. Sound familiar? Thou art a ruler and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with his sons and brethren. Now therefore, come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem. So shalt thou and thine house be in the number of the king's friends. And thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards. All right, bribing. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him and fall away everyone from their religion, or from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers, the covenant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, as you can see, Mattathias wasn't happy. And if you lost right now, let me brief you on what's happening. Okay, so Antiochus Epiphanes made it law everywhere he went that everyone should be one people under Greek rulership. Sound like the Tower of Babel. Meaning, everywhere he went or conquered, the people were not allowed to be independent from the Greek Empire. Meaning, everyone is equal. 2, he forbid the burnt offerings, drink offerings, and sacrifice, which people get the chills when they hear sacrifice because they know it's dealing with the killing of animals. But this was a part of everyone's culture. They kill the sacrifice, they burn it, and eat it amongst the congregation. All right. Now, number 3, he set up altars, temples for idols, or should I say the Greek gods, right? Sacrifice swine's flesh or pig or hog's flesh or whatever is in the family of Zeus, right? He sacrificed swine's flesh on God's altar, which the swine plays an important role in this, and you're going to see. They took women and children captive. They killed everyone that disobeyed the king's command. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but you can go read it on your own time and see why it's called the abomination of desolation. So the Maccabees stood up like a lion for their God, the laws, and their people, taking down altars set up by the heathen, going to war, and many wars with the Greeks and different nations that made alliances with the Greeks during this time. A year after the abomination was set up, Mattathias dies and anointed or chose Judas to be captain or king over his people, king and priest, right? All right, now First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 66 through 70 is where this happens. And it reads, "As for Judas Maccabees, he hath been mighty and strong, even from his youth up. Let him be your captain, and fight the battle of the people. Take also unto you all those that observe the law, and avenge ye the wrong of your people." Right? He got to gather his quote unquote disciples. Recompense fully the heathen, and take heed to the commandments of the law. So he blessed them, and was gathered to his fathers, and he died in the 146th year. And his sons buried him in the sepulchre of his fathers at Modim, and all Israel made great lamentation for him. Now Judas, First Maccabees 3, 1 through 9. All right. Then his son Judas, called Maccabees, rose up in his stead, and all his brethren helped him, and so did all they that held with his father. And they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel. Right? The abomination of desolation is taking place here. And the Messiah that went against it, that's supposed to come, is here. I'm going to read that again. And all his brethren helped him, and so did all they that held with his father. And they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel. So he got his people great honor, and put on a breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike harness about him. And he made battles, protecting the host with his sword. In his acts he was like a lion, and like a lion's whelp, roaring for his prey. For he pursued the wicked, and sought them out, and burnt up those that vexed his people. Wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled, because salvation prospered in his hands, or in his hand, however you want to put it. Hands, hand, don't matter. Salvation prospered in his hand. He grieved also many kings, and made Jacob glad with his acts, and his memorial is blessed forever. Moreover, he went through the cities of Judah, destroying the ungodly out of them, and turning away wrath from Israel, so that he was renowned unto the utmost part of the earth. And he received unto him such as were ready to perish, meaning ride or dies. The people that was ready to ride and die for their people, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the laws that were handed to Moses. This is our Messiah. This is the example of our Messiah. Does he sound like a turn the other cheek Messiah? Or does he sound like the warrior or violent Messiah that Bernice spoke of in part 2? Oh, we not done. We just getting started. Stay tuned and stay with me.